Fighting for Minnesotans who are injured isn't just our job.
It's personal here.
We get it.
It's like hiring family. We take their cases personally. That's not just a slogan. We mean it.
When you know what your clients are facing, you fight differently.
We can't change what happened, but we can start charting a path for the future.
Around here, we have a team that fights for Minnesotans every day because we get it.
We're coaches.
We're lake lovers.
We're parents.
We're not just lawyers. We're Minnesotans.
TrueWork makes high-performance workwear that moves with you, breathes easily, and dries fast. Engineered for Midwest conditions to perform through changing weather. Proven and refined on the job site. Get 15% off your first TrueWork order with code NEW15 at checkout. That's NEW15 at TRUEWERK.com. TrueWork. Workwear built like it matters. Because it does.
Folks, the Great Minnesota Get-Together is here, and that means the best pricing of the year on fiberglass and aluminum toppers, and a one-of-a-kind giveaway from your friends at Radco. Come visit Radco at the fair for your chance to win the ultimate outdoor fishing package, including thousands in prizes from Rapala, Fleet Farm, and Lear, and a guided fishing trip for two at Ballard's Resort on Lake of the Woods. We'll see you at the State Fair.
Radco, your truck accessories pro.
Hey, it's Chris Hockey, the Power Trip Morning Show, and listen, I'm not going to take complete credit for this, but I have been asking for 9 years. Please, McDonald's, bring back the snack wrap, and it's finally come home. That's right. The snack wrap is back at McDonald's, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'll take all the credit. You take all the enjoyment. Grab your favorite snack today in ranch or spicy, or just get both like I do and make it a meal. Enjoy your snack wrap for the first time or all over again. The snack wrap is back. $2.99 only at McDonald's. 5 years, no interest, or save 20% off any roofing project. Go to buildersandremodelers.com.
This is Chris Broussard. Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by DraftKings.
Viking safety Harrison Smith's status for the season opener is uncertain because of what the team says is a personal health issue. He hasn't practiced in several weeks. Miami Dolphins assistant coach Ryan Crow was placed on leave today after an early morning arrest for domestic battery. The Twins are back home tonight for the start of a weekend series against San Diego. Zebby Matthews will take the ball for Minnesota. I'm Frank Garrity.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 or older. Age and eligibility vary by jurisdiction.
Vikings Bears, Monday, September 8th, on the audio home for Vikings football. FM 100.3 KFXN, Minneapolis, St. Paul. The Fan, powered by Hy-Vee.
Farm 840 is coming to Minneapolis. Join Willie Nelson, Neil Young, Kenny Chesney, Dave Matthews, and more Saturday, September 20th at Huntington Bank Stadium. Celebrate 40 years of music, food, and family farming. And for your chance to win a pair of tickets now on our contest page, KFAN.com, keyword contest.
A very guest-intensive program today from the Great Minnesota Get-Together. Our last weekday here. I'll be out here for Sunday sermons, 9 a.m. on Sunday. We are off on Labor Day, and then it's Bears Week, as you know, starting on Tuesday. I just finished up with Bill Guerin. We will have, before we're done, John Krasinski, Johnny Athletic will stop by in the 5 o'clock hour. Ben Gessling at 4:30 to talk plenty of Viking stuff. Now, pleased to be joined by Gopher men's basketball coach Niko Medved. How about a round of applause for you? And thank you for coming back, because I know we were going to do it on Wednesday, and then we obviously changed our schedule to go back into studio. So it was very kind of you guys to give us a second shot to have you on. We're pleased to have you.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me out. It feels great to be back. As you know, I grew up 15 minutes from here. I used to come here all the time, and it's kind of neat to be back. It brings back a lot of memories being out here.
So your best job out here and your hardest and worst?
I'll tell the story now. They can't hold it against me. You do a lot of things, but this is the only job I got fired from, Dan.
Really?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know.
Was it corn-related, or was
No,
it?
I was working. I don't remember the stand. I was working at a stand here, and they sold, like, Christmas ornaments and stuff, and I was a stocker, so we were back stocking.
Ah, okay.
I guess one morning a group of us showed up, and a bunch of the stuff had been broken.
Oh, no.
So they blamed a bunch of us, and they let us go.
You were the fall guys.
I was the fall guy.
Oh, my God.
And somehow it didn't get on my resume, or it escaped or whatever, and I'm standing here today. But,
you go.
that's where you learn about accountability and, just take accountability.
Well, that seems, that seems a little unfair. At the time, I bet you it wasn't any fun.
It wasn't.
Because you didn't do anything.
Well, I didn't, but then I'm like, you know what? I get to go to the fair every day, and I don't have to work.
Well, that's true. That's a very, very good point. Well, I kid Guardsy. I was going to wait for maybe question 2 or 3, but I'll go ahead and ask you now, because we used to always get Richard Pitino on this one. Have you yet signed your first contract extension at the University of Minnesota? Because I felt like every 15 minutes, Richard Pitino was getting another contract extension until obviously he wasn't at the late date. So you haven't signed an extension to the original yet?
No, but we can work on it, though. I'd be happy to, but
yes.
not yet. Yeah, not yet.
That's okay.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. So, I definitely need a lot of help from you on the roster and on the players, because it's a changed group, obviously. It's a brave new world of college football and basketball, quite frankly, in that regard. In the old days, you'd have a bunch of people back, and then we'd know some things about some of those players and where you want them to go. Now it almost feels like a blank slate. So the floor is yours on how, based on what you think you know to this point, you can size up the group of players you have coming in this year.
That's a great point. I mean, obviously, you're right. I mean, the dynamic in college sports has changed. I think this was really unique in that there was only one returning player who played any minutes. So you're really kind of starting over, so to speak.
Yes.
That makes it really challenging. At the same point in time, I think there's an opportunity in that,
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
We have a whole new group. I brought one player with us from Colorado State, Jalen Crocker-Johnson, who started for us. So he's kind of the guy who knows what's going on. Everybody else is new. I think we did a really good job of finding guys, who are great guys, kind of fit our culture. I'm a big believer, especially in year one, you got to have.
So you call it year one, not year zero. PJ, of course, referred to it as year zero. So you're willing to
get away with year zero or not?
No, just go with year one.
Okay,
yeah.
I think late to let the cat out of the bag.
I think
right?
you can't go back. Exactly.
No, it's year one, but I think it's important to find a group of guys that know are going to come to work every day. And I've told them, I'm like, we got a unique opportunity to kind of set whatever this is, a new vision and culture for the program. And I said, hey, if somehow next April when the season's over, if people are more excited about Gopher basketball than they were, then we did our job. I don't know how many. Maybe we win more than I think. I don't want to put any limits on it.
Right.
I think we've got a lot of guys who can shoot the ball. We got a lot of guys who really got good length on the perimeter, maybe a little undersized inside. The one thing I can tell you is I can't tell you who our leading scorer is going to be. It's not like we have a returning all-league player or anything like that. I think we got a lot of guys who have maybe produced at other spots or have ability, but it's going to be kind of interesting to see how it all comes together here. And we just finished, our summer work, so I know them a lot better than I did.
So how much time, refresh my memory on how much time you can, how the rules set up now, in terms of how much time you can spend with them to get to that evaluation.
So, in the summer we get 8 weeks, 4 hours a week on the court. You can do it any way you want. So typically we're going to do 4 days. You might do 45 minutes, hour 15, combination of team workouts, small groups. Later in the summer we're focusing more on the team, really just trying to get your base concepts in and kind of get an understanding of what they can and can't do. I thought they did a great job. We just brought them back this week, Dan, and so we just started back up. This is actually we give them 7 weeks, 3 weeks off. This is actually our week 8 because we start school on Tuesday. And I was impressed. We start this week, and you know what? How much they were able to retain and do. So, boy, they're a willing group. I'm excited to go to work with them and see what they can do. And I think I saw 10 teams in the Big Ten in the preseason top 25.
10?
Yeah, I've seen up in that high. Now, listen, it's hard to predict in today's
standard
who's going to be good and who's not and all that, but that's what we're here for, to challenge ourselves.
Give me a sense, in pro basketball, obviously there's been a big emphasis in recent years on guys who can play multiple positions, giving you more versatility and flexibility. Is that happening for you, or do you see signs of that already? How would you describe the mix that you have to this point in the roster regarding being multiple?
I know you're a cliche guy, right? like you're, but
yeah.
I do think, I think the positionless thing are guys who can do multiple things on the court, and I think a lot of people think about that offensively, but it's also defensively.
No
I
question.
think,
Yep.
Being able to switch at different spots, different actions on the floor, having the ability to do that, so positional length, guys who can handle the ball, pass the ball, shoot the ball, rebound, defend. I think that's great, and that's kind of a little bit how we built our roster in Colorado, and I think you'll see the same thing here. So I think there's an emphasis on that in recruiting, guys that we're recruiting, and some of the guys that we brought in. And I like to tell guys we bring in, and I'm like, when somebody brings a player to me and they said, I don't really know what position he is, I love that. It gives us an opportunity to kind of mold what they do on both sides of the ball and do things to play to their strengths. So I don't like to pigeonhole guys. And listen, the guys who can do more things on both ends of the floor, they make you a better team, which makes you look like you know what you're doing as a coach.
Yeah,
you know
for
what
sure.
I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think fans will see that. There's a lot of that as we look to build our roster.
In your first year, do you implement, let's say, for example, the sets you run or the offense you run? Do you tend to do it a little more slowly or a little bit more, I guess you could say, in an elementary fashion, or is it I'm going to throw a bunch at them right from the beginning?
It's a great point. I think in the summer I'm really intent on not over-coaching these guys. We have some things we believe in and concepts and how we space, how we cut, some of our terminology. Our teams have always moved the ball and shared it well. So we teach those concepts. But part of it for me, too, is not just – I don't like to tell guys what to do. I try to teach them how to think. And inevitably, it's not about your plays or scheme. It's about players. So I have to figure out what they do. If I give them too much information, they may become robotic, right? So I want to see what they do, how they learn, and inevitably every year a player will teach you something. You're like, boy, that's pretty good. We have to find a way to do more of that for him. Or they do something. It's funny. A lot of the stuff that we do, a player will have done it naturally. Like, I kind of like that. We need to maybe give that a name and figure out how to incorporate it in our motion, in our system. And so I think a lot of that stuff goes on, and how they progress is different year to year. And I think you just have to be able to adjust as a coach with your team. Some guys can take more. Some guys need a little bit less. And so I think you just adjust to that every season.
So you obviously are very familiar with this market. You've spent time here for sure. You know it extremely well, but yet you were gone for a while. So were you gone long enough, even if you were staying in touch and know the market pretty well, to sort of forget maybe some of the realities here? And I'm just curious, now that you've been in the position for a while, if anything has surprised you or anything has struck you that as knowledgeable as you thought you were, or you'd forgotten, or you didn't quite know about the climate here as it pertains to, in this case, college basketball.
So it's funny. I'm going to kind of talk out of, two sides of my mouth here, but one that surprised me is there's still a lot. People love the U, and I know that's there. They love the U. It's every day I go out and people are just, they tell me how much they love Gopher basketball, how long they've been going to the games. They're really waiting to get back. And so I've been surprised at really how much underlying still enthusiasm there still is. But at the same side, boy, there are days when I've been just kind of surprised at still how much sort of, negativity or just, boy, we can't do this, or, all the reason. And I get both of those. I do. I think both of those are a reality for people. And I'm just I'm not a pie in the sky.
Right.
I'm a real, but at the same point in time, I'm a guy who focuses on leveraging our strengths. We got a lot. We've turned around programs at places, and there's a lot of things that we have working in our favor, and it's going to be hard. There's ups and downs, but we can win here.
Yep.
We can do it. There's a lot of underlying things here that are true.
Well, I want your next answer to not include false modesty, because you're almost hinting at it already. What do you think is your greatest strength?
I think we're genuine people. I think people who come, players like to play for us. I think we've been able to retain players. I think that, we've developed a reputation now kind of around the country and even in some of the pro circles of, we develop our guys. I think our guys get better. Like I said, they enjoy playing for us. I think we run a really good kind of modern creative system that way. I think that I am who I am. I'm genuine that way. I think I develop trust with our players, and I think there's high accountability in our program with still high care, and I'm always a big deal. As a coach, I think, can you destroy complacency without destroying confidence? And I think, how can you do that? And I think as a coach, too, is sometimes, man, we got to catch guys doing it right. I mean, listen, we're here to hold the standard. We have a really
Sure.
high standard, but sometimes as a coach, we're just always pointing out what they need to do better. And young people need to hear sometimes they're doing it right. And I think the guys appreciate that. They respond to that. And so I think it's those things that are strength. And then I would say this, Dan, we have a track record. We can point to guys who've come. We can point to a track record of winning. We can point to a track record of guys getting better, playing at the highest level. So I think as we're selling that to people, hey, we can say, listen, there is a process here in order to do what we need to do.
Yeah, this question is not at all directed at Ben, your predecessor, because I don't really want to get into that anymore. There's really no point. But I have tended to view this particular job as challenging enough that it needs an experienced head coach, that there's just certain built-in challenges to the position here that you need someone who isn't learning that aspect of the job on the job. Do you think that's true?
I think being a head coach anywhere is hard. It's hard enough. And then in today's day and age, it's really a challenge. You're going to get stuff thrown at you all the time. And I just look at all my experiences. You're so much more prepared now than when I first got my first head coaching job at Furman. I'm so much more. 4 years ago, the job was open. I think about, boy, how much better I am now 4 years later to have this opportunity just because of all the things that you've went through. And you really, you can keep the main thing. You don't get too up at things. You don't get too down.
Sure.
You trust yourself and your process. And so I think those things matter here, but I think they matter everywhere,
True.
So I think, for me, I can only speak for me personally. I feel a lot more prepared
It's such a different
to do this,
role than an assistant coach, right?
Oh, man. I mean, there's so many hats you have to wear in this job and manage. And but, first and foremost, I see myself as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. But teaching is not just telling them how to cut. There's so many things. You're teaching human beings, that way. So, and I like to think I'm better than I was when I started as a head coach 13 years ago or whatever. I'd like to think that, 13, 14, whatever it is. I think that holds true for anybody.
There's some coaches we look at maybe unfairly, but we view them as, okay, their strength is more clinical X's and O's. Then there are others we say it's they manage people well, they manage the personalities well, and maybe they leave the X's and O's to a couple of really good assistants to a large degree that they lean on a little bit. What's the percentage for you in terms of success, do you think? How would you lay that out?
I don't know. That's a hard one for me to answer. I think my staff will tell you, I love the X's and O's now. I love it. You know what I mean? So, I'm not the guy who's just, I have an unbelievable staff and I allow autonomy, but there's not anything that I'm not going to be involved with just because I enjoy it too. I enjoy learning. I enjoy getting better. I enjoy that part of the game. But at the same point in time, I'd like to think that, you really do a good job of being emotionally intelligent and understanding people and what motivates them. And everybody's a little bit different. How do we get to the same thing that we want, but maybe in a different way with different individuals? And the same thing with your coaching staff. And I like to think that's a feel thing maybe for us and have that. And to be honest, I know what you're saying, but I just think you got to be able to be successful at managing all those things pretty well.
The best ones,
to be successful. And man, you're learning something every day. So I love the X's and O's. But I think we do a good job of managing people and trying to get the most out of them.
So I think of a legend in this conference like Izzo, and he's kind of viewed as a coach from a different age. In that, even now, you can see him on the sidelines sometimes during the game, certainly during huddles, just pound. He's pounding away. Now, a lot of people say he can do that because, to your point, players trust him because he's shown that he does care about them, over a period of time. But I'm curious to get how you would evaluate him. I'm asking you to do a lot of self-evaluation, which is probably unfair a little bit. But there's some therapy to this. What your approach is. Are you much of a pounder in that sense? And I'm not saying it in a negative way on Izzo, but he's a guy, he's an in-your-face guy a lot and has had great success. Is that you, or is it a little more velvet glove, or how would you describe how hard you come at them in terms of confronting?
It's not a velvet glove, and it's not an in-your-face. It's just the standard's the standard. You know what I mean? And I just don't let guys get away with if that's the way we're supposed to cut, if that's the way we're supposed to sprint back on defense, we do it till we get it right, and I think there's different ways to do that without screaming at guys or whatever. Yeah, there's times you got to get on guys and you got to be honest with them. That's not good enough, and so I think there's ways. There's no velvet gloves, or you can't kind of tiptoe around. You can't be afraid of confrontation. I just think there's different ways. Everyone thinks confrontation's negative. I just think players, that's what they expect.
Yeah,
every guy that I've ever been around, like they want to be held to that. So it's like they know and they smell through coaches who let the BS go. They do, man. I'm telling you, the best ones, like they don't like that. And all the great ones, the guys who played in the NBA or whatever for us, man, they'll tell you, like, Coach wasn't afraid now. He's going to let me know when that's not good enough or I'm not living up to a standard that we expect. And so I think you can do that without always having to yell and scream. Sometimes you do.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because you hear from some coaches or current coaches or even players, they say, well, today's player has to be coached differently. I don't want necessarily to say velvet glove, but a little less confrontationally because of what they've been brought up in a lot of times in AAU stuff, et cetera, and that it's just that coaches have to adjust to this generation of players. It sounds like you're saying you don't think necessarily players have changed all that much and that they actually do still want to be coached.
Yeah, I think, I just think confrontation can be handled in a different way. You know what I mean? A lot of people, again, think confrontation is, that's not the point. Confrontation is just maybe, holding somebody accountable for something, and you maybe have to do that in a different way. Sometimes guys, too, sometimes guys respond to, they need a little bit more one-on-one time. They need to know, like, you get them in the office and say, come on, man. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, listen, this isn't good enough, and so I think you have to be able to do that different ways, but I don't think the great coaches or programs, they don't change what they confront. All of us, listen, you got to evolve.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, if you're not evolving, you're dying, but how do you evolve without not fundamentally changing some of the core stuff that you believe in? And so I think maybe in certain ways coaches have found that I'm not going to change what I confront.
But how I do it?
How I do it.
Yeah, that makes some sense. Where are we on the whole, are we comfortable where we are in NIL? Revenue share, all this stuff. It's such a, we probably do an hour or 2 hours on that alone.
God. Yeah, we just spent 3 hours with the staff the other day going through. Everything's changing by the minute. The big thing for people to understand what's really changed is now you've got these two buckets, the institutional revenue, revenue share that's set. That's just a direct, salary from the university. And then you've got the NIL piece. The NIL piece is what's being regulated, by Deloitte with the third-party stuff. That's still kind of up in the air what that's going to look like here moving forward.
And are you comfortable with the money you have at this point? Is it workable?
It's workable. Yeah, do we need to get better to be where I think we need to get in the top part of the Big Ten? Absolutely. But we've come a long way, Dan.
How does the formula work on how you, is it, there in the NFL, for example, when you make a trade and there's ways to sort of put value on draft choices, almost like a point system, where at least you have a guideline to help you about, okay, who, and in this case, who's going to get this much money as opposed to the next guy getting that much money. How does that work?
No, I think that's a great point. We're all doing that. We all have access to unbelievable analytics, people working on all those things, player values, and then, now, at least with that rev share piece, we're all, you cap it like a pro team, know. You get percentages of your cap. What would that look like? If you're an all-conference player, what kind of percentage might that look like? You talk to some of the NBA teams, NFL teams. How do they do that? There hasn't been there's still not a cap, but there wasn't any cap before. You could spend whatever you wanted. But now, yes, that's really a strategy to figure out and understand that every bit you spend right now is going to affect you somewhere else. And we might have to make decisions we haven't had to make before. You have a player who, like, boy, I really like this guy, but we only have so much money. We can't keep both of those guys because he's commanding more money someplace else. Yeah. Those are kind of realities we've never had to deal with before that are coming.
And what are the internal politics of that between players?
It's funny. I get asked, God, that must be hard when the players all know what each other are making. And I don't know. It hasn't been an issue for me yet. I'm just kind of honest with them about it. It's like, listen, man, we all know what this is here, but we're all making money. That's awesome. But if we're going to let that, get in the way of what we're trying to do and what we're here for, then we're not even getting past first base. We might as well not even, try to get going here this year. And I think we've been able to manage that. The players are smarter than we think. Like they understand what it is, and I don't think there's like a lot of envy of who's making this and that. I mean, if you had a good group of guys, they're kind of happy for each other. You know what I mean? Like that's great that this guy's making money.
Have you, we'll wrap up fairly soon here. We're chatting with the Gopher men's basketball coach, Niko Medved. Now, you're very familiar with Williams Arena, but now the assumption is you've had time, to sort of check out all the skeletons in there and find all, exactly how decrepit it is or how much it can be improved and all that stuff. Now, is there any part of you, if you're being honest, once you started looking around, when no one else was looking, you go, oh my God, this place does need I know it's got great history. This place needs an awful lot of work.
I mean, there might be a couple of mice. There might be a roach somewhere in the office or whatever. I'll say this though, we had some recruits here on campus, and we just had a young man who was here, and they happened to be from the East Coast.
Yeah.
His father was just in, and I'm telling you, one of the things they loved the most was.
Really?
Oh, man, they watch it. This is awesome. This is so cool. Reminds me of the Palestra, or he's a baseball guy, reminds me of Fenway or the old Yankee Stadium. And I love these kind of places, and the players are up there. This is cool. I get to play on a stage. And so I think there's two sides to it. I mean, I understand both of them, but there still is a side that people, and kids do love playing. I don't believe it's hindered us in recruiting at all. Maybe there's some of the fan experience that they'd like to be better with the parking, the concessions. I don't know. That's something I have to see here as I get going. But yeah, I mean, there's some nooks and crannies, Dan, at that place that
Yes.
you know what I mean.
Yes.
You might find a mouse. You might find whatever. I haven't seen a rat yet, so that's good.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
You can't. I know you can't talk about specific players, I assume, but there's been a lot of stuff written indicating some interesting names, some tantalizing names, some names with some talent. Are you encouraged by what you have been? How far can you go to tell us?
What I would say is I think it's really cool. I mean, a lot of the players that we've had interest from that are choosing to come and visit Minnesota, they got a ton of options.
Sure.
And the fact that they're taking the time to come here and a lot of times cut out a lot of schools that have had a lot of, maybe more of a history or more established than we are, I think is pretty cool. I think that says something. And so now at the same point in time, that's great. I think it's up, but they're only as good if you get them, right? And then they got to produce when they get here. But I have been excited about that. I think staff's doing a great job, and we've been able to get some guys we're really excited about to campus, and we've gotten them all out here. We've got them all out here to the fair.
Yeah, nice.
It's
Even
just
better.
good. Yeah.
And now, so the rules are changed, right? You can feed them, right? Is is it all bets are off on that now? You can just start handing out $20 bills.
You have certain.
I don't even know how that works.
You got some host money and stuff you can do, but there might have been some Sweet Martha's cookies.
There you go.
I think they tried the cheese curd tacos, fried pickles. We were over. I don't know, walleye on a stick.
Excellent.
I mean, they're going for it.
Thanks for coming to see us.
Dan,
Much
I
appreciated.
really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Great hour, half hour, I should say.
You've come
Niko
Medved,
Medved,
shop.
Golden Gopher men's basketball coach. I'm sure we'll talk to him a lot during the season. Thanks again, Niko. We appreciate the time. We got
Fighting for Minnesotans who are injured isn't just our job.
It's personal here.
We get it.
It's like hiring family. We take their cases personally. That's not just a slogan. We mean it.
When you know what your clients are facing, you fight differently.
We can't change what happened, but we can start charting a path for the future.
Around here, we have a team that fights for Minnesotans every day because we get it.
We're coaches.
We're lake lovers.
We're parents.
We're not just lawyers. We're Minnesotans.